Hello and welcome to part 3 of the Orc Blade build. So since part 2 I've latexed the blade and given it a couple of coats of primer. And I've added a little bit of a detail on the pommel. I don't know whether you can see that, but I put a skull on the pommel. That is from it's basically a cast I made, and it's in latex. So I've sprayed this, but it would have been just as easy if you were just doing the one to use a roller or a paintbrush on this, and that really wouldn't affect the finish because it's meant to be looking rough. So that would have been absolutely fine, but I've sprayed it because I had lots of other weapons to spray at the same time. So my primer that I use is basically Flexi Paint. It's good stuff. So that's just the black. So I did a couple of coats of black, and then over the top of that I did a mix of black and white to make a grey primer, and the reason for that is that it's going to be metallic, and it just sort of works a little bit better from a grey primer rather than a black one. That's just my opinion. So what I've got here are some metallic powders, and these are basically just I guess powder paint, we are going to be brushing this on with a little bit of Flexi Paint Clear, and a little bit of water, and this will make us a nice metallic paint. So we're going to give the whole thing a rough coat, and then once I've done that, I'm going to go over the top of that just with the actual powder itself, and I'll show you that as we go along. Right, so a tiny little bit of water. All you want to do is make a little bit of a paste with it. You don't need much at all. Something to stir that up with, just the end of this brush. These are all old food packaging I use for my paint trays. It just means that I can recycle them once I've used them. Presume they recycle okay, I don't know. The recycling man always takes them, so right, bit of Flexi Paint. So this is Flexi Paint Clear. It looks white, but it dries clear. So yeah, just want to tad of that. And basically that makes up a nice sort of metallic silver. I think I might want to thin this down very slightly. I'm just going to add a little bit more water. It's a little thick for what I want. There we go. So that's a sort of metallic. It doesn't look it yet, but it will. So we're just going to give the whole blade a coat of this now. Just a thing with, well, a few things while we're working with Flexi Paint. Obviously I've sprayed this. You can definitely brush it. It actually works very well with a brush. It's sort of like a self-leveling type of paint, and it gives you a pretty smooth coat if you're working with a brush. What I will do find though is you need to make sure that each coat is really dry before you do the next one, and that is because if it's not quite dry and it's tacky, the paint will actually lift off the latex. And I had just a little spot there, look. I think just coat over that, that'd be fine. But I've had like big chunks come off, so just be really careful Try not to hold where you've painted. You know, use the handle of the weapon if you can, because the handle's not going to have any paint on it. So the silver over the grey background will give us, hopefully give us a sort of iron finish. You don't need to be too worried about being too accurate with this at this stage. In fact, you don't need to be too worried about being accurate at any stage with this thing, really. Just need to give it a good coat. Let me just switch this around through the pommel. Right, okay. There we go. Right, I'm going to give this a blast with the old hairdryer now, just to speed things up a bit. I'm going to pause for a sec because this bit's a bit boring. You're literally watching paint dry, and once I've done a couple of coats of this, I'll be back and we'll get on with the rest of the painting. Okay, so we are now going to give this a little coat of the dry powder. So what I've got is just a little bit of tissue paper and the powder in the bottom of the pot. And we're going to dab the tissue paper in, and then we're going to run it along the blade. So what we want to do here is try and pick up the bits of blade that have been sharpened, so they're going to have a more sort of metallic finish to the weapon than the rest of it. So, and also any highlights we want to just rub this powder onto. Hopefully you should see it starts to get really really shiny on those areas, and any recesses sort of get left dark. Don't know whether you can see how that's actually working or not. So this is right. Okay, so I'm not quite sure how much of that film because I run out of memory space. So basically what I've got, just to recap, I've got a dry brush and I'm just brushing off any of the excess powder. Alright, just noticed we've got a little problem there. I'm going to sort that out. So like I said before, using the flexi paint, very easily you can rub off the finish. So just dab that there. Okay, that's fine. Right, okay, so I'm just going to give that a couple of minutes to dry, and then we're going to start on the rust effects. So hopefully you can see that's nice and shiny now. It's got a good coat. It really does make it. It's really good finish. It's just a little bit. I'll say it's just a little bit difficult to do. So you know, you can get the same sort of effect just with ordinary silver paint, like acrylics. I mean, like these sort of things. It's acrylic. I don't think the finish is quite as good, but yeah, it's worth it, I think. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to dry for a minute and come back and we'll do the rust effects. Okay, so we're now going to start with the rust effects. So the first thing we're going to do is start off with a sort of dark brown colour, and these are just acrylic paints. I'm going to just put these on straight as they are. So the idea with a rust effect is you want to be able to see the original sort of metal underneath, and with the rust we want it on the areas of the blade that aren't in constant use. So we want to keep it away from the cutting edge, which is along here. We can have it on the top, we can have it on the rest of the blade, but perhaps where these scallops have been taken out, you want to see less rust, because that's like damage that's happened and only on the surface. We'll start on, I'll sort of do it as we go really. So we're going to be stippling, and you don't want a lot of paint on your brush. All right, you want to get it. Sorry, I don't know if you can see that. There you go. So I'm using a bit of paper to test how much paint is going to be left every time we sort of dab the brush onto the model. Well, he is a model, I guess. So you want to go and just dab in sort of random areas. So at the moment it's brown, doesn't look very rusty, but we'll do that as we go. And with this, you just want to, what you're trying to do is get a sort of random effect along the whole of the blade. If you dab straight from the top, it sort of works better, I think. Sort of randomly. Just keep going until you're sort of happy with the coverage. So you probably want to keep this bit fairly clear. You can see that, sorry, this bit fairly clear, because that's where, you know, you're going to get blades being caught, so it's going to be scraped off. But yeah, rust. Right, that's probably about as much as you want. So now in the same pot as you've used with the brown paint, we're going to add a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow. Obviously, if you've got orange paint, you can just use orange paint on this. So this is the next layer. It's a sort of rusty red. Again, you want to take quite a bit off the brush. You don't want too much on. Right, here we go again. So this time you sort of want to be putting less on than you did last time. So you just want to be dotting it over the areas where it's sort of concentrated the most. I do apologise if I'm not doing this in shot. Hopefully I am. So you're building up the intensity just in some areas. But you want to do slightly less than you did on the first run, as it were. Okay, that's probably enough of that one. So we're going to add a little bit more red and quite a bit more yellow. And we go again. Again, you don't want too much of this on your brush, so you want to wipe a good chunk of it off. So each layer that you go up, you want slightly less paint on your brush. And again, we're just now dabbing it into the areas where you dabbed the second layer, if that makes sense. Doesn't have to be in exactly the same spot, it's not what you're after, but you're just trying to hit those sort of spots that you've already hit once. There we go, it's starting to come along, I think. And then do one more and go. So this time I'm just going to put some yellow in. So it makes it really sort of orangey. And again, you want to take most of that off your brush. And then again, you want to just hit those. You just want to be hitting the highlighty spots now. There we go. A bit on. A bit on that. Not too bad. There we go. Let's just clean the brush up. Right, I probably just want to hit the edge of the blade again now with a little bit of silver, just so that it just tidies that up again. So I'm just going to use what silver powder I've got left in that pot and just run it along the edge. So again, this is just dry powder, and I'm just going to run this along the very edge of the cutting surface. And there we go. One rather rusty looking blade. Painting didn't take too long. I'm not going really fancy. It's not going to have any gold bits or anything. It's like it's just as rough as you can get it, really. So the next stage is to isoflex this, which I'm going to do now. You probably don't want to see me isoflexing. It's just putting a clear coat, which is basically a clear sort of varnish type coat that protects it from damage and the elements. You've seen me do it before, so I'm not going to film that. Right, okay. Yeah, I'll come back once I've done that, and we'll probably just do the hand wrap quick, and then we're pretty much done. Right, back in a bit. Right. So, okay, so we're all done pretty much. It's been isoflexed, and the last thing really that remains is to get a wrap around the handle. Now, there's a few different ways you can do this. I'm going to do it really simply. I'm just going to cut a strip of leather, and I'm just going to wrap it round. Simple as that, really. Right, pen. I just need to get a straight edge first with this. That didn't come out very well. That's a bit better. Straighten this up a bit. So this is just a bit of scrap leather from an old sofa. It's a great way of getting yourself a load of leather offcuts. If you know someone throwing a sofa away, before they take it to the tip, just ask them if you can cut out basically the back panels and side panels and cushions, and then you have a load of leather. That should do it. Hopefully that's long enough. If it's not, I'll add another bit in. It'll be fine. Right, just got to glue this up. Should be long enough. I hope it's long enough. Yes. Okay. So again, it's the same adhesive we've used before. It's contact adhesive. Let me just get this all the way. Oops, a daisy. All the way around the handle. Bum, 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 bum. It's a little bit awkward because of just the way the camera angle is. I would normally, it's just a bit difficult. Just going to try and get it so you can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. There we go. And then we do the same on the leather. Right. Right, that should do it. So we just want to cut this end at an angle. Boom, boom. You just want to pull it tight as you wrap round. It's a little tricky, but oops, sorry. Keep it nice and tight. And keep going. There you go. That's pretty much it. Good. Okay. Okay, and so here we go. It's the finished thing. Yeah, really pleased with how it's turned out. I think it looks quite good. Yeah, all done. Balanced fairly nicely, I think. Not a lot more to say about it, really. Except for, well, thank you very much for watching and taking your time to be here with me, I guess, for however long it has been that this has taken. If you enjoyed watching this, please obviously like and subscribe and do all those other bits and bobs. But also put in the comments below if there's something that you'd like to see me make. It looks like I've got plenty of time now before the next event, which is probably going to be September. So yeah, if you want to see me do anything, by all means let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Right, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.